My name is Jason Alari. I'm the Executive Director of the Historical Society of Carroll County. Thank you for coming out in this frigid weather. We have on the table in the lobby our upcoming events calendar. Please check that out. It's chock full of all kinds of great programs and events at the Historical Society, and information about the upcoming BLTs is on there. Actually, no, we have a brochure, a BLT brochure coming out soon that we pretty much have 2025 pinned down for our BLTs. And there's also some notices on this flyer about society closings during the holiday. We want to give a really warm round of applause to our sponsors for today's talk, Lynn Wheeler and Jerry Klauber. At this time, I would ask that our special guests that received an invite to today's BLT, please join me on the steps and on the stage. You received an invite from me or Laura. You have been associated with the BLTs in the past. Could you please join me on the stage with me and Laura? That's okay, I'll get her attention. I'll get her attention.
Good to see you. Thank you. That was awesome.
Lynn, get over here.
There's somebody. You good? Yes, I can.
So Lynn Wheeler, you don't know this, but Laura and I arranged to have past BLTs, speakers that you've been associated with over the years, come today. And we have invited them on stage.
Wow, Jason.
And some of them have some words that
Well,
they'd like to
first I
share.
want to say, wow, do I know how to pick them? Thank you all so very much for your fabulous talks, really. Thank you.
And this is a message from Lynn. As a sponsor of that event, I'd like the following message to be read. It has been my great pleasure to serve as the chair of the HSCC Programming Committee for the past 5 years. I'm very thankful for the fabulous speakers who have engaged us every month with remarkably interesting and diverse stories of Carroll County history. I'm also very thankful for the partnership with Pastor Matt, Ron Wentz, and the staff at Grace Lutheran Church, which is a terrific venue. I am thankful for the excellent partnership with Ryan and the staff of the Community Media Center. Ryan does an excellent job capturing the BLTs and preparing them for HSCC's YouTube channel. We have developed a significant library of talks. I'm also thankful for the longstanding members of the program committee, including Marilyn Phillips, Jim Leitner, and Larry Boone, who have helped to develop an excellent schedule of speakers, and to the fabulous volunteers and staff, including Laura Bankert, Jason Alari, Kyle Wishendahl, Doris Hall, Wendy Wraith, Sherry Rigel, who every month bake delicious desserts, pack and unpack cars, haul supplies, set up and serve refreshments, and welcome attendees with open arms. And now we're including Steve and his wife's fabulous cookies to that bunch. Last but certainly not least, I am very thankful for all of you who regularly attend the BLT talks. You make it all worthwhile. It is always a delight to see you coming into the room. With the highest regard to you all, I say farewell, Lynn.
Thank you all so very much.
Anyone here would like to offer a few brief comments about your interactions with Lynn? We have one at least.
You want to let other people sit down first?
Well,
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Thank you all very, very much. You're all fabulous, and I love your talks.
You know, Lynn always tears up. We tear up just thinking about all the good deeds that she has brought to this community. We've worked together nearly 20 years now, and it's always been my pleasure. When I was here as a speaker, I was the person who interviewed Jackie Herring, and she had been one of the women on the Hill at the college who had worked for the federal government in a very top secret clearance. So fortunately, I was able to interview her here and share that story with you. She's a wonderful person, and she passed at the good age of 93 this past May. So it was my joy to know her. Today, I just ran across this brief quote by Virginia Woolf, and I just wanted to read it in tribute to Lynn and to all of us who care about history in our community. Quote, "Whatever happens, stay alive. Don't die before you're dead. Don't lose yourself. Don't lose hope. Don't lose direction. Stay alive within yourself, with every cell of your body, with every fiber of your skin. Stay alive. Learn, study, think, read, build, invent, create, speak, and write, dream, design. Stay alive inside yourself. You stay alive also outside. Fill yourself with colors of the world. Fill yourself with peace. Fill yourself with hope. Stay alive with joy. There is only one thing you should not waste in life, and that's life itself." Certainly, Lynn has done that, and she is an example for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
I see we even have more speakers in the audience. Can you raise your hand that you've been associated with Lynn over the years? Frank? Yep. And I think I saw Art came in. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you guys for being here and doing this special thing for Lynn. Thank you.
Jason.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Oh, no. I'm going to start introductions now.
As usual, I'm not planned to say anything. I just shoot from the hip like I always do, no matter what I'm doing. But every time we go to any event, whether it be, the gala, or anything related with the Historical Society, or just about anywhere you go, you have this lovely lady that's just so much a part of the community that, I would say when you mention the word pillar, the roof's going to fall in if we don't keep having really people like this lady right here. And I just wanted to come up and express my gratitude and thanks for everything that you've done for the community and for everybody that's in here. Hopefully we're going to still see you at all the events.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
Thank you all very much. On with the show.
That's it. That was easy. Well said.
We have many of Lynn's team members from the library here. It's very appropriate that we send Lynn off with Andrea Berstler. And I have a bio here for Andrea, and then we'll ask her to come up to the podium. Andrea has been executive director of the Carroll County Public Library for 6 years. Prior to coming to Carroll, she was executive director of the Wicomico County Public Library, headquartered in Salisbury, Maryland. Andrea received a Master of Library and Information Science from the University of Maryland and a Master of Library Science from Kutztown University. She is a graduate of Leadership Carroll and of Leadership Maryland. Exploration Commons at 50 East opened under her leadership. In 2024, Exploration Commons received the County Innovation Award from the Maryland Association of Counties and the University of Maryland School of Public Policy. Andrea serves on a number of boards, including the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce, the Partnership for a Healthier Carroll County, and the Human Services Programs of Carroll County. She is also very active in the Maryland Association of Public Library Administrators. She and her husband, Kurt, live in Westminster with their puppy. So you have to tell us about that puppy later at some point. And we have a warm round of applause for Andrea.
Okay, getting myself situated here. I appreciate the extra, audience. This is nice. Hope you all are ready for the holidays. And, yeah, this will work.
You might want to bring that mic down.
You're really tall, Jason. Is this better? Okay, all right. So thank you all for the invitation to come and speak. I am a former educator, and one of the things I miss terribly about being in library administration is I don't get a classroom. So you all in my classroom for today. So please don't act up. All right, let's see if I can work this thing. Okay, so we're going to talk a little today about Christmas traditions. This is a time of year, maybe the time of year more than any other, where that we have a plethora of traditions. They're just one after the other. And not only do we have general traditions that we follow here in our country, there are traditions that are global, and then there are also traditions that are just in our families. Unique traditions that come up through the years that grandparents or great-grandparents did that we follow. And the stories behind them are often really interesting. So I've picked out a few that I feel are very common that we can all relate to. And we're going to go back in time a little bit today and talk about where they started and why they started. So this is a brief, believe me, there are whole books on this thing. Several of them have been added to my collection since I was asked to do this speech, because adding books to my collection is a real hardship, let me tell you. So we're going to start, though, with, and Lisa is my helper here. Lisa, where you at? Okay. So Lisa Picker is a director of communications at the library, amongst lots of other things. And Lisa has gift bags, and we have trivia questions in the presentation to make sure you all stay awake. So I'm going to do an opening trivia question, and the first person to call out the right answer, I'm going to need your help here with picking out who that was, gets the gift bag. They're library gift bags, so they are very cool. When did Christmas, and I need a date, actually I just need a year, we're going to go with a year, become a national holiday, and which president declared it a national holiday? So it's a two-part. Sorry? December 25th. That's close. All right. A year and a president. Nobody wants to venture a guess. Come on, Joyce. Abe Lincoln, you are close. 1871. You are very close. I would say 1871 may be closer than Abe Lincoln. How's that? Any other guesses? Okay, so give it to Mr. 1871, please. It was Ulysses Grant in 1870. So it has only been a national holiday since that time, so it's after the Civil War. So the first tradition we're going to talk about is one of my favorites, candy canes. How many of you have never had a candy cane? All right, good, glad to hear it. How many of you have them on your tree or in your house or in your garland or right this minute? Okay, I will warn you, my daughter's candy cane story is that she put them on her very first tree in her very first apartment when she was living by herself, and her German Shepherd puppy ate them all. He was fine, but he was bouncing off the wall for 3 days. Hard candy dates back over 1,000 years and is often used as a reward for good children. So for much of that history, though, the cost of sugar made it very difficult for families to enjoy. Sugar, white sugar, the sugar we used to make candy canes, was a rare delicacy. So legend says that in 1670, the choir master at Cologne Cathedral in Germany gave sugar sticks to his young singers to keep them quiet during the Christmas Eve Mass. He bent the sticks into the shape of a shepherd's staff to honor the holiday. These original canes were all white to symbolize the purity of the Christ child and bent to symbolize the shepherd. Within 100 years, these treats found their ways onto Christmas trees, and children could not wait for the time when they could take them down and enjoy them. A second tradition says that the canes were hand-painted with stripes as a code back in the day of Oliver Cromwell. It was a way for Christians who were not in the Church of England to recognize each other with these striped canes. Europeans brought the canes with them to the United States even before the Revolution, but they really didn't take root until 1847, when a German-Swiss immigrant first used candy canes as an ornament. And with the growth of Christmas nationally in the 1840s, and you're going to hear the 1840s a lot in this presentation, because the 1840s are the time of Queen Victoria and Charles Dickens. With the growth of Christmas nationally, this idea caught on, but the canes were still all white. In the early 1920s, a candy maker in Albany, Georgia, not to be confused with Albany, New York, found a way to hand twist colors into the hard candy, and in 1950 the process became mechanized. This changed everything. An Indiana candy maker knew the tradition of the red and white twisted canes way back in Britain in the Oliver Cromwell days, and decided he was going to use this for his own canes. Red for Christ, white for purity, and a hook cane for the shepherd's staff. And while there are several, and being a librarian, there are several sites like Snoop's that debunk the whole story of the Christmas candy cane, it's just too good a story to not include in our discussion. So that is where our traditional candy canes come from. Aren't they cute? So here's another trivia question. How tall was the world's largest candy cane? This is a guess, just give me feet. 8 feet? 12 feet? 10 feet? What? 100 feet. Lynn's going for the really big candy canes. 16, 25. What? 30? I feel like an auctioneer. Do I hear 35? Okay, 30 feet is the closest. It was 36 feet 7 inches. And it was 4 inches around. They made this in Lansing, Michigan. Can you imagine a 36-foot candy cane all out of sugar? Do not let the German shepherds near that one at all. So next we're going to go to caroling. How many of you have ever gone Christmas caroling? Out with friends, drinking hot chocolate? It's a lot of fun. Caroling, however, comes from an old French word. It means to sing or say something happily. That fits. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines carol as an old, round dance with singing, a song of joy or mirth, or a popular song or ballad of religious joy. So to carol means to sing something in an especially joyful manner. Wassail, from the carol, here we go a wassailing, is from an Old Norse word that, which translated means to be well or in good health. So the two of them kind of go together. Prior to the year 129, that's way back. It's before my time. It's before pretty much all of your times. There are almost no songs in the church by design. And since December 25th had not yet been designated as the official birthday of Jesus, there were no Christmas carols. In the year 760, however, a Christian composer, his name was Comus, wrote a Christmas hymn for a Greek church service. This started a movement toward more musical works in the church, especially around Jesus' birth. However, the works were not melodic, and they were written in Latin, which the common folk did not know. So needless to say, they were not very popular. In walks in the year 1223, in comes St. Francis of Assisi. He of the loving animals and St. Francis poem and all of that prayer. He constructed a nativity scene outside his church, which was at the time a common practice. What was not common was he invited children to join him in the nativity and to sing songs. He taught them songs in their own language, and because they could understand the meaning of the words, the songs became popular. Imagine that. These were the first true Christmas carols. St. Francis's nativity plays grew more ornate and complex, and the carols evolved into canonicals, and then the drama resembled a pageant, becoming so popular that the practice spread throughout Europe. Even though church leaders initially banned the songs, outraged that drinking song tunes had been used to make Christmas carols, and the words were not accurate, the people fell in love with the songs and they refused to stop singing them. In fact, they continued to spread. Traveling singers called minstrels added the songs to their repertoire, and they would tour an area moving from stop to stop. As they did, the people they were singing to learned these new songs. All the while, the church fought to rein in the spread of these horrible songs. In the 16th century, Martin Luther embraced carols. He sang them with his children and encouraged his followers to do the same, and he found great joy in them. But the composer George Frederick Handel and his composition of Messiah in 1741 was where the change began in the minds of church leaders. And they accepted this modern Christmas music. When teacher Franz Gruber and priest Joseph Moore put their talents together and composed Silent Night, the church's acceptance of carols was complete. And Silent Night is the most recorded song in history. When Queen Victoria and Prince Albert were married, carols became the mainstay of the Christmas tradition we all know. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert loved music. Their families and their church groups that would serenade the Queen and their family at their Windsor Castle residence. They would go from there, making their way through the streets, singing to friends and neighbors. Caroling moved to the United States as well, and carolers changed from a raucous group that was there in the 16th century to groups of well-wishers bringing cheer to all, including those who did not or could not go to church. In the 75 years after the U.S. Civil War, they wrote the most number of new Christmas carols ever. You remember, that's the late 1800s? When peace on earth seems so out of reach, the power of a carol can be seen in multiple stories. In 1914, in World War I, a Christmas truce was called, and both sides came together, exchanging gifts and singing carols. There's several movies about this, too. It's actually quite a remarkable, the Christmas Eve truce or the Christmas truce. But before that, in 1870, during the Franco-Prussian War, a French soldier leaped out of his foxhole in the middle of a battle and began singing O Holy Night. He was soon joined by other Frenchmen, and all the gunfire ceased. The Germans answered with a carol of their own, and for one day the battle stopped, while men on both sides celebrated Christmas. During World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and other wars, organized caroling bolstered the morale of troops during the holidays. So here's a trivia question for you. I told you what was the most recorded song, but what is the best-selling Christmas single in the United States? What's that? Who said White Christmas? There you go. The 1952 recording of White Christmas by Bing Crosby is the most sold single Christmas music in the world. It has sold over 100 million records and at least 50 million singles. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Then we have evergreens. How many of you have evergreens in your house? Yes? Okay, even the artificial ones, yeah. All right. We used to have real trees, and then we got cats when our kids were little. And one of them had to go, because the cats kept pulling the tree down. So the custom of holiday trees and greens goes back thousands of years. In ancient Egypt and Rome, where plants and trees that remain green all year held special symbolism. Ancient people believed that the sun was a god. Winter, when there was less sun, was a time when the god was sick or weak. This is seen in many ways. In ancient Egypt, the god Ra had the head of a hawk and wore the sun as a brilliant disk as a crown. At the solstice, Ra began recovering from his illness. The Egyptians would fill their home with green palm rushes, symbolizing the triumph of life over death. Romans celebrated the feast of Saturnalia in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture. Knowing that the solstice means the farms and orchards would once again be green and fruitful, they marked the occasion by decorating their homes and temples with evergreen boughs. In the far north, the Vikings thought that the evergreens were a special plant to their sun god, Balder. And the Celtic priests, the Druids, decorated the temples with evergreen boughs as a symbol of everlasting life. The celebration of the solstice was an important day, and in many stone circles, such as Stonehenge, were used to track the progress of the sun and mark the day when it began to increase its time in the sky. I feel like we all kind of do that too, right? It's like, how many hours of daylight did we have today? More important to the Druids was mistletoe, which was thought to have magical properties. We're gonna get to mistletoe in just a second. In fact, there it is there. As for kissing under the mistletoe, there is a mythological story behind this. I don't know how many of you have ever read this. When I researched this, I thought it was really interesting. Mythology says that Odin, the Norse god of wisdom, and his wife Frigg had a son named Balder, the sun god we just mentioned, who was prophesied to be killed. Frigg met with all living things, all the plants, all the animals, urging them not to harm her son. But she forgot to reach out to the unassuming and non-threatening mistletoe, which the evil Loki used to forge a spear that brought Balder down. The tears Frigg cried over her son became the berries that can be found on the mistletoe, and she decried that day forward that mistletoe would be a symbol of love and never a weapon. She also vowed to bestow a kiss on anyone who walked underneath of it. During this period, people would stand under the mistletoe, trying to reconcile after an argument. So where does Christmas come into play? With Charles Dickens and Washington Irving, of course. It is not entirely clear how or when mistletoe first got pulled into all of the Christmas festivities, but its earliest mention seems to come from the work of Charles Dickens and Washington Irving in the days of Victorian England. Dickens mentions kissing under the mistletoe in the Pickwick Papers, and Irving's Christmas Eve provides a bit more detail. So, in that vein, here's your trivia question. What year did the song I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus was released? I hear 56, I hear 52, 47, 48, 46, 45. 1950. I think someone here said 50 already. Okay, so in the spirit of up to but not going over, whoever said 1948 would be the closest. Ah, there you go. It was 1952. And it was recorded by singer Jimmy Boyd, and we all know the little kid voice. But it was actually written by a British songwriter, believe it or not. So then we get on to the centerpiece of almost every holiday, the Christmas tree. Tree worship was common among pagan Europeans. They carried it over after their conversion to Christianity. The Scandinavian custom of decorating the house and the barn with evergreens to bring this gift of the strength of the tree winter could not kill into the home. This tradition is seen in many European customs. In Germany, they continued the custom of placing a Yule tree at the entrance or inside their home through the midwinter holidays. Rural churches as early as the 15th and 16th century indicated that holly and ivy were brought inside in the winter, hence the carol, the holly and the ivy. It is believed that the concept of lights on a tree, however, was started when Martin Luther added them to his tree. Walking toward his home one wintry evening, composing a sermon, he was awed by the brilliance of stars twinkling amidst the evergreens. To recapture the scene for the family, he put a tree in the main room and wired its branches with lighted candles. Yes, I know. I cringe every time people say about lighted candles on a Christmas tree. And all I can think of is the scene from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation when the tree goes up. How many, here's another trivia question for you, Christmas trees are produced and sold every year? Live Christmas trees, not artificial ones that are grown and then sold. Round numbers. 1 million? 5 million? 7 million? Do I hear 10 million? 100 million. What had 1 million? Okay, so we had 1 million, 5 million. I think 7 million is actually between 25 and 30 million. Did he say 20? All right, then 20 million it is. Thank you for helping me. However, there are over 350 million live trees growing in the U.S. every year. It takes about 7 years for them to mature to a Christmas tree. Plus, there's another 10 million artificial trees sold every year. That's a lot of trees. The origins of our modest Christmas tree, however, are rooted in Germany. The main prop of a modern medieval play about Adam and Eve was the Paradise Tree. Set up in the homes on December 24th, the religious feast of Adam and Eve. The tree was a fir tree hung with apples, representing the Garden of Eden and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The tree had wafers hung on it, symbolizing the Eucharist host. However, the wafers were later replaced by cookies. Cookies are always good. In the same room, there would be a Christmas pyramid, a triangle construction of wood that would hold Christmas figures and decorated with evergreens, a candle, and a star. By the 16th century, the pyramid and the tree had been combined, giving us our modern decorated tree. In 1570, a German guild chronicle records the first time the tradition of Christmas trees was put into print. The chronicle notes that a small tree was decorated with apples, nuts, dates, pretzels, it's Germany, and paper flowers, and was erected in the guild house for the benefit of the guild members' children, who collected delicacies on Christmas Day. We already talked about the lights with Martin Luther. The Christmas tree in the U.S., however, was a little slow in adopting. In 1659, the General Court of Massachusetts, based on Puritan beliefs, enacted a law making any observance of December 25th other than a normal church service an offense, and people were fined for hanging decorations. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Hessian mercenaries who were fighting for the colonial army during the Revolutionary War introduced the Christmas tree to the United States, but the tradition stayed mostly with German Americans until the 1840s. And until the 1840s, the Christmas trees were seen as pagan symbols and not accepted by most Americans. In fact, William Bradford, the second governor of New England, wrote that he tried hard to stamp out pagan mockery. And we've already heard about Oliver Cromwell and his work in Britain. It wasn't until the very popular royals, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, embraced the tradition that fashion-conscious Americans welcomed trees in their home. The German-born Albert was, of course, raised with all German traditions, including Christmas trees. The Victorian tree was decorated with toys and gifts and candles and candy, popcorn strings and fancy cakes, all held to the tree with ribbons and paper chains. Christmas trees became the height of fashion in the 19th century. To further boost the trend, in 1848, the Illustrated London News wrote in a report that was picked up by other papers that described all the trees in Windsor Castle. So there are multiple ones. Surrounded by the royal family on its cover. I believe it's a picture of it on your left, my right. So with all of this going on in Britain, the tradition of putting a decorated tree in the White House began in what year and under what president? Boy, nobody's going to take a chance on this one. Come on, make a guess.
Teddy Roosevelt, 1908.
Okay, Teddy Roosevelt, 1908. No? Well, you guys would not do well at a pub quiz, let me tell you. Lincoln? Madison? Okay, I think I heard Grover Cleveland. That's close too. It was the presidency of Benjamin Harrison in 1889. The president's grandchildren led the Harrison household the second floor Oval Room to take a look at the very first White House Christmas tree, lit with candles. I know, right? It already burned down once. We don't need that to happen again. So what is a Christmas tree without ornaments? Blown glass ornaments were offered for sale in Britain and the United States as early as the 1870s. They were produced in small workshops in Germany and Bohemia, and they were created from tinsel, cast lead, beads, pressed paper, and cotton batting. By the 1890s, Christmas ornaments were arriving from Germany, and Christmas tree popularity was on the rise in the United States. It was noted that Europeans used small trees, about 4 feet high, but the Americans like their Christmas trees big, reaching from floor to ceiling. In the United States, Woolworths started selling 25 million ornaments, $25 million worth of ornaments by 1890, at which time strings of electric lights were also available. Yay! So, Americans like their trees big. How big? Rockefeller Center big. The first tree at the Rockefeller Center was placed in 1931. It was a small, unadorned tree placed by construction workers at the center of the construction site. 2 years later, another tree was placed there, this time with lights. In 2024, this is a picture of the 2024 tree. There are over 50,000 multicolored LED lights on 5 miles of wiring strung around the tree. So glad I don't pay that electric bill. But it's beautiful, isn't it? It's one of the world's largest trees. And today, Christmas and holiday trees are as fundamental part of the holiday celebration as turkey is for Thanksgiving. They fill our homes with the scent of pine, or not, if they're artificial. We display our treasured decorations, and their lights give us warmth and joy in the very darkest season of the year. And our final tree, we should have one more bag yet, right, Lisa? Very good. What year, this is a two-parter, actually it's a three-parter. What year was the Christmas Carol published? Who published it? And then there's another question. And if you had a copy of it today, what would it be worth? So let's start with who published A Christmas Carol? Okay, we all know that one, right? Charles Dickens. And he actually did publish it with his own money. What year did he publish in? 1870? 1850? 54. Any other guesses? Okay, 1854 is the closest. It was actually 1843. Remember I told you, remember those 1840s? 1840s was when Christmas hit the ground running. The first run sold 6,000 copies between December 19th and Christmas Eve. And if you have a copy of this, get it insured. It is worth between $18,000 and $45,000. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. Laura has a microphone. I have one on this side. Any comments or questions?
Yes, that is a library book. We have several copies of it. But you can't have the one I borrowed because I'm taking it to my grandson next week.
Andrea, I don't know, it's been a long time since I read this, probably 15, 20 years, but I think I remember seeing in some source that sometimes what families would do is light the trees, step back for a few minutes, look at it,
And then blow them all
and
out.
blow them all out. I think that was more of the tradition. At least I think I remember hearing that. But
I believe you were right. You also have to remember that in that time, trees came in for just a day or two.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have Christmas trees in their house for, 3 weeks like we do. We keep watering them and hoping the leaves don't fall off, or the needles don't fall off. They would come in, and some of us remember this as children even, the tree would come in Christmas Eve morning.
Yes.
And then it was there Christmas Eve and Christmas, and then within a day or two it was gone. So yes, that was much more, but you're right, it was like, oh, isn't that pretty? Okay, blow them out. I had read that as well. But it is kind of hair-raising, just,
It still is.
yeah.
Jim?
Just to follow up on that, I have actually seen candles on a tree. I have German friends, and they would do it Christmas Eve for the children. They'd light them all. They'd have a big bucket of water sitting right next door to it, and for about 10 minutes, and they would usually sing Silent Night. Then the candles went out, and they never lit them again. I've seen it. I've seen the tree lit, and it's beautiful.
Oh, it is. I've been very fortunate to see one as well, and the effect is so much more than artificial, electric lights can do, but the danger completely outweighs doing this. I think that's what they were trying when they made the lights that look like candles, but it still doesn't work.
Right here. I've got a microphone for you. That's okay. You can catch it.
Now, use a microphone, Barb.
Right. This is just a comment, really. I was thinking about my grandma's house, and she had the bubble candles. Do you all remember those? They were so cool. As a child, I was fascinated. It was electric, but yeah, it was really cool to watch those bubbles.
So Marty's inviting everybody to see her bubble. No. Yes. The bubble lights are pretty inspiring if you've seen them. They're kind of like a lava lamp on your Christmas tree. It's very cool. Any other? I will be more than happy to share the sources I use. There's several websites and a couple of books on Christmas traditions that are really fascinating. There's a lot more traditions than this online. There's some really interesting ones.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Steve is retiring next year from his illustrious career at Westminster High School. He is, as anyone who knows him knows, a huge history buff, and he's pretty much tracked the history of all of the alumni of Westminster High School who served in any battle, right, as veterans throughout the history. Oh, more? Okay. Well, okay, but he has an immense record of history. And we're very excited about Steve's energy and joy for history and love of people. So I feel like the program committee is going to be in absolutely great hands. And thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Kicking off in January, Steve will be interviewing Melvin Hurwitz for his 100th birthday. Correct, Steve? I'm going to turn it over to you, Zach.
Hello, everyone. So last March, we were here when Gail and I talked about Westminster High School. Mr. Hurwitz, who was a Westminster graduate, World War II veteran, was here. Didn't realize he was coming, but he's become kind of an international celebrity. He went to the 80th reunion of D-Day and was on CNN, and he is turning 100 in March. And we're going to bring him back here in January and just interview him about his life, his experiences, and all those kinds of things. 4 days later, at the annual birthday party, we're going to celebrate the 125 years of Westminster High School.
Wow.
Not in the same way that Gail and I did it before, but more Westminster High School's role in the community, what it's meant to the town, more so then than maybe now, because Wintersville seems to own Westminster now. But they should be, I hope they're interesting anyway. And if you're here for both of them, you're going to get sick of me, but I won't talk for the rest of the year after that. So that's where we're headed at this point in time. And I'm really happy to take over, to be part of the Historical Society. You know, taking over for Lynn is not an easy thing to do, but she seems to think of it well. That's me. Thanks for listening.
We're really looking forward to hearing your talks, all of you, and thank you very, very much for making this environment fabulous, looked for event every month. Thanks very, very much. Take care, and Merry Christmas, everyone.